Welcome back to Starting with IEP. I am Flor D'Amelia, IEP coach, special educator, BCBA, and a mom walking this journey right alongside you. And if you're here, it's because you want to understand the IEP process so you can advocate confidently, strategically, and without feeling overwhelmed. Please don't forget to visit www.startingwithiep.com, where you will also be able to access our free resources, our workbooks, our courses. Please follow, subscribe, and leave a review. Now, I know that we have touched on transition planning before, but today is different. This episode is not a quick mention. It is not a surface conversation. Today, we are doing a full step-by-step breakdown of the Transition IEP, what it legally requires, what it should look like in practice, where schools often fall short, and exactly how you can make sure that your child's plan is actually preparing them for adult life. Because here's the truth. Transition planning is not something that starts senior year. It is not something that you start thinking about at 17. It should actually begin shaping your child's IEP in early adolescence. So if your child right now is 12, 13, 14, please lean in. Because at this point, the question shifts. We move from how is my child going to be doing at school to what kind of adult life are we building towards? And that shift changes everything. Today, we're going to talk about how to build that roadmap intentionally and not accidentally. So if you guys have listened to the first episode, my daughter has had 5 brain surgeries. So I have thought about her future. Actually, I have thought about her future since the very second that I received her diagnosis of moderately to severely, actually at that time it was like mental retardation, moderately to severely mental retardation. I remember that was such a huge gut punch. I was already thinking about her adulthood life and the role that I was going to play in it. Because again, the diagnosis that she received was a prognosis for the rest of her life. So then I wanted her to be independent as possible. And a lot of it had to be because she's a girl. And then I was thinking very early on when she was in preschool, when she's an adult, is someone going to go in the bathroom with her? I was thinking about showering and all these private moments that she needs to be doing on her own. I was thinking about adulthood life. I knew that she was going to be vulnerable. So then later on, I think it was towards the end of elementary school, I was thinking, what type of job is she going to have? What can she do as a part-time job? I want to say right now she's in high school. Last year she did an internship, and that's when I found out that my daughter can actually work very well. She needs support, but we're going to work on her being independent, or as independent as she can be. But she is willing to work for straight hours with breaks here and there. But she actually likes, because it's repetitive. So she likes schedules that are repetitive, that's very predictable. She loves that rhythm. She likes going. But before that internship, you guys, shame on me. I do have shame on me moments. Shame on me as a mom moments. I'm a mom of 5. So I want to say I screw up a lot. I'm learning as my kids are growing and I feel bad. But I had that moment, you guys, because here I am telling people I just want someone to give her a part-time job of like at least 5 hours a week. And then Aaliyah proved me wrong, and this girl can work 20 hours a week at least. And that's actually the limit that I gave her. She may do more than 20 hours, but at the same time, I didn't want to overwhelm her because she was going to school, and then after school, she was going to work. And I want to say that after the internship was done, she was really sad. She was really sad because she liked going over there. And I asked her if she wanted to go back to work, and she said yes, but the internship is over. But we're going to go do a visit and see if they will allow us to help here and there as a volunteer. I think also her being in that working community and people saying hi to her and people being so appreciative to her, that was so great. But I want to say what helped me think about that was Transition IEP. But I took it more as a mom role. Like, okay, I need to think about what internships are out there. Now, I want to say that a lot of the things that I had to do as a mom, because the school only has so much resources, right? So then I just had to work and be very creative in the type of internships that it's accessible to her, right? Or looking for volunteer opportunities for her that we can do after school together that will help her be prepared for adulthood. So one of the questions that we're going to be reviewing here is, what are you guys currently doing? Like volunteer work. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about all of that. But I wanted to give you some insight as me as a mom, what I have been thinking about it, because I think very early on, and we're all in different phases, right? And all of our children, there's not one child that's the same. But I want to say that there's just been so many parents that have been like, you're thinking about it too early on. My daughter is 16 and she's still learning how to take a shower independently. It's going to take her longer. So I knew that I had to stress about it earlier on. So if your child needs a lot of support and you also notice that your child, the rate for them to master a task, if you notice and that it takes them longer, then we have to start planning a little bit more earlier than most. And actually, I spoke to the doors coordinator and I was telling them that I would like Aaliyah to have another internship. And I told them because Aaliyah, she needs more opportunities because it's going to take her a little bit longer than most to understand this process versus another child that's in the spectrum. And they did understand, but I know with the lack of funding, I do understand that there's only so many things that can be done. But don't worry, we're going to be talking about those type of things. The very first thing, now that you have heard me talk about the future, have you thought about what is a transition IEP? What do you understand about it? So for those that are relatively new, especially for those that have kids that are 10, 11, 12, please, again, lean on this because it'll just help you be prepared for what's coming. Because adulthood, it is no joke, you guys. It is no joke. So under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, transition planning must begin no later than 16 years. It's like a federal law. However, in many states, including Maryland, we begin at 14 years of age. So what it means is that transition services are a coordinated set of activities designed to move a student from school to post-school life. And that includes activities such as employment planning, post-secondary education or training, independent living, community participation. And I want to say something important. This transition IEP, it is not a document. And I really do not like how some schools see this as a checkbox because it is not a checkbox. Transition is not a page in the back of the IEP. This transition is a roadmap towards adult life. So if your child is receiving transition services, what it means is that this IEP, it's going to look about the goals in their adulthood. They understand what the child's goal is in the future, so they try to work backwards from there in order to make sure that the goal can be attainable for them. So what this all means is that they're going to look at where the student wants to go, what skills are missing. So they have to make sure that they work on those skills. What experiences is needed to happen now in order for them to get where they want to be. So I actually was in an IEP meeting earlier today, and I want to say that I have seen better. I'm telling you, it just varies from county to county and it varies from state. There are some schools that they are so good. They're active. And they want to make sure that the student is going to meet their goals. But then you have other providers that they must be overwhelmed. So I have talked to other transition coordinators, and a lot of the times they say that they are just so swamped that they are just really unable to really focus on all the activities that are in there. So one of the feedback that I got, and hopefully I can bring her here, she said that she'll allow me to interview her maybe once she retires out of the school so she feels much more comfortable. But one of the things that she has noticed and she gave as a pointer is that for parents, what they need to do is that they need to be asking about these activities. How often are they doing these transition activities? And if they do, let me get more information so we can review those. What resources are you giving my students? So I can also at home be reviewing it, not just a one-time thing that you guys are filling out and asking that questionnaire about what the student wants to do in the future. This should be talked about throughout the school year, getting them prepared, not during an annual IEP meeting. So that is some of the pointers that she wanted to share, but hopefully that interview will come soon. For those that have already a transition IEP, why don't you just press pause and go get that IEP, and then you can see what activities. And then also what you can do, why don't you call in a friend and then ask, what transition activities do you have there? Now put this on your to-do list whenever you have your annual IEP. I'm not trying to stress you, or you can actually do a quick email and ask your case manager, who is my transition IEP coordinator? who is this transition services coordinator? Well, it just depends how every state has a different title for them. And then you can ask them, so far, we're finishing quarter 2, going on to quarter 3. Can you tell me what activities that you have done with my child? I have spoken to parents where they tell me that they have not done, it's quarter 3, and they still have not done any transition activities so far. And they say that they will once the annual IEP, and they'll give updates there. But the whole transition IEP is supposed to be throughout the school year. So please, I think the more that you ask, the more that they know, hey, so-and-so's mom is going to ask about this. So why don't we do these activities and share with mom? You know, like the whole saying, squeaky wheel gets cheese. I'm so bad with these sayings, but the more that you're being persistent and the more that you let them know, hey, this is something that's really important and meaningful to us as parents, then they'll provide that for you, for your child, for your student. Okay, but moving on to the next segment, because I can actually talk about that. So a strong transition IEP must include measurable post-secondary goals in this area, in education and training, employment, and independent living if it's appropriate. So why don't we go ahead and break these down? When it comes to education training, this does not always mean college. What this could mean is community college, trade school, certification program, on-the-job training, adult day program, supported employment program. So the goal must describe what the student will do after exiting school. So the focus wouldn't be for college. So again, the goal, as you can see, it doesn't have to be college. So an example that I'm going to give you is after graduation, Maria will enroll into a culinary certification program. How exciting! That is super great that they're doing something that they're very passionate about. Please notice that was very specific, not vague, as in Maria wants to go to college. Specifically, what college program, specifically what certification program. So the thing that we're trying to get on here, and I don't know if you guys caught on, is that we need a measurable direction. So right here, not sure if you guys saw this pattern, is that we are needing a direction. We want more specific information about what they want to do. The more that we know what our children, what our students are really passionate about, the more that we can help them. It's like flowering a plant, right? The more water that you give it, the more that it grows. The same thing. Oh, you're passionate about this? Did you know that about this? Did you know about this? Did you know the military can do this? And the reason why I said military is because I have a student that is, oh my goodness. I don't know if you guys know, my husband retired from the military, so we're a military family. I didn't serve as long as he did, but I often do talk about the military because it's such a great program and it gives a lot of benefits and educational benefits. So if you guys do have questions, I can actually do an episode on that, but you guys need to let me know if you guys want me to do an episode on that. Maybe I can interview my husband. He actually has helped a lot of people learn more about the program and then pursue that way. But the reason why one of the things that I talked about the military is because a lot of the students were nervous about paying for college. That's one thing that they were nervous about. It's because they would say like, oh, my grades are so bad that I can't go to college. But then I was like, have you ever heard about tech school? And then they're like, oh, but they are still antsy about school or how much depth they're going to get into. I don't know if you know, but tech school is paid for. It's a paid education program that the military gives you. And you don't actually have to go straight into the military, or you don't have to go active duty. Also, parents, just know that your child can go into the Air National Guard, the National Guard, the reserves. So there's so many different ways that you can be in the military and still access their education program and still serve our country. But the reason why I was telling you about that is because there is just so many different avenues that they can access their education. And I think I was mentioning about the student that was really worried about because their grades weren't as high as they want them to be. So what we were preparing was for the ASVAB. So instead of the student working on the SATs or the ACTs, what he was focused on was passing the ASVAB test. So basically it's just this military entry test. He was really focused on that because he wanted a free college tuition. So what he wanted, he just wanted free tuition on tech school. He was too nervous about going into college, but that can be later on if he wanted to pursue that. And I don't know if you guys know that the credits that you get in your tech school, you can add it on as credits for the military. They have their own military university and you can get your own degree going through that. Again, I can do another episode if you want me to do on that. So for this particular student, instead of studying for the SATs and the ACTs, what he was studying for is the ASVAB test, which is a military test. So he had to pass that in order to be, well, there's other things also to get into the military. But we were more focused on that. And that was actually in his transition IEP. Well, that's one of the things that we were talking about, that we were reviewing. We were just getting him prepared for the things that he wanted to do. And for him, he wanted more financial stability. He was actually really did not want to go into debt, and it had a lot to do because his parents were in a lot of debt. So he was just trying to avoid as much as possible, which is why the military, actually right now, this was a long time ago, you guys, he's actually in the Air National Guard. So I'm very proud of him. And he went into the avionics program. Very, very proud of him. And the reason why he went into the avionics program is because my husband was actually in the avionics program. So I was able to tell him a lot about that. I don't know if my husband knows that he influenced someone's career. And I know that it's very hands-on, and maybe in the future that he'll be able to actually do it. But again, that was just one example of how to prepare, and it's giving a student direction of what they want to do. So the next thing that it focuses on employment. So what it does is that this must state the type of work that the student intends to pursue. So an example would be after high school, James will obtain a part-time supported employment in the retail setting. Actually, that James sounds a lot like my Aaliyah, because that's exactly what she's going to be needing. She's going to be needing supported employment. So even if the student doesn't know it yet, the team must use transition assessment to be guiding that. And the third thing is independent living. But again, only if it's applicable. And this includes housing, transportation, money management, healthcare management, daily routines, and safety skills. So an example here would be after graduation, Anna will live at home and participate in a supported community day program. Another example would be after graduation, Kevin will live in a supported living apartment. So if your child has significant support needs, this section is absolutely critical. I think now that I'm talking to you guys about this, I am going to make a special episode just on this. I think this is really needed. I think we need to prepare our families more. Actually, on the spot, I came up with an idea. I think what I need to do here, you guys, is do a deep dive on each of this. One episode would focus on education and training. The other one would focus on employment. And then another episode would focus on independent living. But again, that is only if it's applicable, because there is just too much to say for me to condense it all in this one episode. But at least I got you thinking, and please look out for those episodes once they come out. If you have more of a priority over the other, please in the comments let me know which one you're interested in more so I can make that one for you guys. Have you guys ever asked yourselves, how are these IEPs falling apart? Did you guys know that post-secondary goals must be based on age-appropriate transition assessment? Okay, so let me break it down even more. So you must be asking, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that the school is not allowed to guess, the team cannot assume, and it cannot be copied and pasted year after year. So these transition assessments, what they may include are interest inventories, vocational aptitude testing, situational work assessments, adaptive behavior assessments, community-based observations, and or student interviews. So please get a pencil out and remember to ask these questions at your next IEP meeting. What transition assessments were used to develop these goals? So if the answer is we talked to mom, or he says he wants to work, that is not enough. Data drives transition. So without this assessment, the plan is weak. Just letting you know the plan is weak. So make sure you ask those questions so we can get them thinking about what assessments they're going to be using. Also, you guys, I am working on a resource on ascendafoundation.org. We are going to be working on a page that lays out a lot of transition resources that are free. So be on the lookout for these resources at www.ascendafoundation.org. So I think I just want to make it easier for you guys to know what type of resources are out there and the resources that they can be using, or you yourself as well as the parent, because I know how parents are involved. So now let's get practical. A transition IEP must include services, not just goals. So what should you be asking for? So here are some concrete supports families should consider. Community-based instruction, also called CBI. Your child should be practicing real skills in real environments such as grocery stores, public transportation, banks, restaurants, job sites, not just worksheets in a classroom. So be sure to ask them, what are those opportunities at school? Another one would be job sampling and internships. Students should be trying different work environments before graduating. So some examples would be stocking shelves, office filing, food prep, landscaping, childcare assistant. So one of the things that you can be asking is, how many hours per week is my child receiving vocational exposure? So if the answer is 0, that's a red flag for you. Another thing that we need to be focused on is travel training. So can your child read? Do you know if your child is able to read a bus schedule? Are they able to use Uber with supervision? Do they understand pedestrian safety? Or how about, can they identify different landmarks? Transportation is independence. And the more that you guys think about it, how do you get to work? Through transportation, right? They're not going to be stuck at home. How are they going to access friends, their social life? It's through the transportation. I mean, definitely the parents can transport them, but we get old. Actually, you guys, I have been working on my daughter's Metro Access card where they pick her up and her one-to-one from one site, and then they can take her to the other site. Because I want my daughter to learn the bus. Now I understand that maybe she won't be able to ride the bus independently, but one of the things that I want her to understand is just the social rules in a bus. So I am working on getting her pass, and then her one-to-one gets a free pass. So she doesn't have to pay because she's supporting my daughter. And if you guys are in Maryland, if you guys want me to share those applications, I can definitely share them. And if you guys need help finding for your state, just let me know, put it in the comments, and then I can help you search for those. So yeah, just let me know if you need more help in finding these resources. So every state should also have supports in transportation. Something else that I want you guys to think about is self-advocacy training. Your child should be learning to state their disability. That is so important, especially let's say that they are in a car accident, or let's say that there's like a police altercation and they want to let them know like, hey, I have X, Y, and Z. So that way the police officer can react appropriately or provide the supports that person needs. They need to also learn how to request those accommodations, especially if they are thinking about working at a job site. They need to let them know their accommodations, or going to college. When they do go to college, they need to say X, Y, and Z about their accommodations and the things they need in order to feel supported at school. They need to ask for help appropriately because not everyone knows body language the way parents do. I think the best thing here is when they participate in their IEP meetings. Actually, in the IEP meeting that I was telling you about earlier today, we did ask that young fellow certain questions that would help the IEP team know that, hey, we are ready to do less prompting and we're ready for him to be more independent, because I was asking him directly, do you need this? And then he would be honest if he does. And then I would also ask, how about if we remove this much prompt? Do you think you can work on this independently? And then one of the powerful things that he said is that he wanted to make his own choice. That was huge. That was huge because you have a young man, a teen, that is advocating that he wants to be more independent. He wants to make his own choices. He doesn't want to be prompted to do X, Y, and Z. So I thought that was huge. They should not be silenced at 17. We need to teach them at a very early age that they need to speak up and that we are going to hear them. Another thing that we need to focus on is functional skill instruction. So if your child needs help in budgeting, cooking, laundry, scheduling appointments, the hygiene routines in the morning and at night, time management, that's huge. Everything that I have said so far talks about adulting, right? Adulting, like setting a foot into the adult world, because academics alone, it is not transition. We need to prepare these young adults to be on their own later on, because parents are not always going to be here. Now let's clarify something that confuses many of our families. Vocational rehabilitation, which is also known as VR, it is not the school. A lot of the times they think, oh, yes, the school will do that. No. VR is a state agency that supports individuals with disability in gaining employment. So students can connect with VR while still being in school through pre-employment transition services, which is also called pre-ETS. But VR does not replace the school services. VR eligibility requires documentation and verification of the disability and employment barriers. What I tell families is to apply early. And it's not because they will take over immediately, but because eligibility and planning, they take time. I actually did Aaliyah's DOORS application and VR both at the same time. I think in the previous episodes I talked about that. So it's the one less thing that I have to do when Aaliyah turns 21. So you guys can also do that. You guys already have the documents. You just start the paperwork. And then that's just one last thing that you guys... Because adulthood is so scary, you guys. So scary, though. All the parents that I have spoken to, it is very overwhelming for them. So it's just nice that every year just do one less thing that you don't have to do when they turn 20, going on to 21. Again, you do not want to graduate and then start paperwork. It is just stress that doesn't need to be all in one. You can just divide up the stress. I guess how I would describe this transition planning is that it should feel more like a relay race and not just jumping off a cliff. So I want you guys to envision a track field, right? So if you want to be ambitious, your freshman year, you can do the DOORS application at the same time doing your VR application. You can do it all together, all in one. That's what I did. But if you don't want to go through that hassle, like freshman year can be your DOORS, the sophomore year can be VR. The junior year can be your DDA services that you were applying for before they hit 21. There's actually a beautiful roadmap that I think I need to review with you guys. Well, it's for the state of Maryland, but every state has their own roadmap that they provide for families. So if you guys want me to review that document with you guys, I'm more than happy to. It actually helped me as a parent. Actually, I was looking at this roadmap when Aaliyah was like 6. Isn't that sad? But I think I was just so anxious, you guys. I think I still am. But I knew her road was going to be difficult. So I just wanted to take a peek and see what was in store for her and to see how I should be worrying. But that's just me. You can do the relay race and you don't have to be like me and then do it earlier all at once. But the relay does work. But if you want to, you guys, we can review it together. So do you guys have your pen and paper? Well, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to write these down. Okay, so the first questions you should be asking the school is, what assessments were used to create these post-secondary goals? Another question that you could ask is, what real-world environments is my child practicing weekly? How many hours of vocational instruction are occurring? What adult agencies have we connected with? How is my child being taught to self-advocate? What skills still need direct instruction before age 21? If these questions are vague, I need you guys to push for more answers, more clear, defined answers. Because the more that you are asking and the more information they give you, the more that you will understand and also help you prepare for the Transition IEP for that adulthood. Actually, what I'm going to do for you guys is that I will have a Google document that will list all these questions. So all you got to do is just download it and then you guys can take it. So these are the questions that you can ask. You can copy and paste, put it in an email, and then they'll give it back to you. So again, transitioning is not about finishing school. It is actually about launching adulthood. So parents, we're about to do an activity. It's like doing a pre-assessment and a post-assessment, right? So when you remember when you were 14, your 14-year-old self is very different from your 15-year-old self. That is very different from your 18-year-old self to your 21-year-old self, right? So I'm about to ask you some questions about your child's future. But then those same questions, I want you to think about those very same questions and see, what if I put more dedication on the Transition IEP? Can this vision of my child's future, can it get better? So with that in mind, I want you to close your eyes and picture your child at 25. Where are they living? Are they living in your home? Are they living with their sibling? Are they living in a supported living community? Where do they picture? In the same state as you, in a different state, in a warmer state? Or are they living in your backyard? Which I have heard families that they did the mother-in-law suite. They made it their child's apartment, like their own apartment. So it's like their neighbor next door, but they both get the privacy. Now, who are they living with? Are they living with you, with their sister? And a lot of this is they talk about guardianship, right? Who are they living with? Are they living with a partner? Do they have roommates? If they do have roommates, how many roommates do they have? Is this going to be an apartment, in a house? Is this in a group setting, a group home? Who are they living with? Who do you picture them living with? Are they able to have a shared live experience? Because there's some young adults that we worked with and they absolutely do not want to live with anyone. They do not want to share the living space, especially a room. Living room, perhaps. So who are they living with? Now ask yourself, how do they spend their day? Do they spend their day in their room watching their iPad all day? Or do they use a transportation system with someone with supports and they're able to go to the museum, go to the park, go to the movies, visit friends? How do you see them? And maybe it's only 2 times a week that they're going out in the community. And then the other days they get to stay at home. Are they working out? How are they fulfilled? What makes them happy? Are they doing the hobbies that they like to do? Have they actually been exposed to all of those hobbies? Because, for example, my daughter didn't know that she likes to crochet. My daughter didn't know that she likes to do puzzles. My daughter didn't know that she likes to do braiding. Like, these activities in the beginning for her, they were aversive because she didn't know how to do it and it would look really hard. But I broke it down for her. I exposed her to it. And there's things actually she tried and she was like, no way. No, sir. No, ma'am. No matter me and her dad tried to get her to do it. But she knows that we're going to try it 3 times. And if you don't like it, that's okay. But you tried it and we all know and we all saw that you didn't like it. But yeah, do they feel like their day is fulfilled? Do they feel safe in the environment that they're currently at? Because there are some young adults that they are put in certain living arrangements where they don't feel heard, that they may feel like they're being bullied or unheard, or that they feel like they're being limited. So how safe do they feel? And also, I think it's really important. Are they feeling connected? Do they have community? Do they feel like they have a social life? I think it's just, we're humans. Are they feeling connected to their communities, to the social groups that they want to be in? Are there clubs that they can be at, right? Or there's just so many different ways that one can be connected. How are they being connected? So now what I want you to ask yourself, now that you're able to paint a picture, right, of what you see your child currently doing, and then if they had a strong transition IEP, how much stronger is that vision for your child? But now what I want you to ask yourself, is their current IEP aligned with that vision? So the transition IEP that you have right in front of you, if you have taken it out by now, does that IEP support that vision that you have for your child, or the vision that your child has for him or herself? If not, that is where your advocacy as a parent begins. And then you can also take that time to also teach your child how to self-advocate about the needs and wants and dreams that they have. So I really do hope that this episode has helped you. And if it did, please go ahead and share it with another parent that's navigating through transition. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and leave a review. This is a way that it helps more families find this information. And if you need structured support with transition planning, please don't forget to visit www.startingwithiep.com. Because we are not here planning for graduation, we are here planning for life. Isn't that crazy? Our kids are growing so fast. And if you need a structured support with transition planning, don't forget to visit www.startingwithiep.com, where you will also be able to access our free resources, our workbooks, our courses. Please check it out and let me know what you think. Please know that the school, it is just not simply for planning for that graduation event. What we have to do for our children is that we have to make sure that we're preparing and planning for their life. So just think about that when you think about transition IEPs. Well, that's all that I have for now. And if you would like more in-depth transition IEP topics, please let me know. You can send a direct message to me, or you can leave a message in the comments, and I'll be sure to check those out and make those episodes for you. But I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.